Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my first video of 2020 and welcome to my bed in Toronto where I've spent so much time the past 2 weeks just hibernating, eating and sleeping. I've slept 11 to 12 hours almost every night, so I'm feeling very recharged and ready to go back to Hong Kong and work. Not only in this bed, or I've also been in other beds of family members' homes where I'm staying at. So the hibernation has just like, there's been many areas of hibernation. What am I saying? Oh, it's been a while since I made a video. I was at my mom's house yesterday and I was going through the old family home videos because I wanted to get the tapes and I want to put them onto my computer somehow and put them onto USB or a hard drive or something and give them to everyone because there's no point in them just laying around collecting dust. We can't even watch them. But then I found my photos of when I was younger. My mom has this giant box of all the stuff we've made and our photos and awards and that sort of thing. And in that box was my diary from my first trip to Japan, my first overseas contract as a model. So this video is gonna be a story time about that. I'm gonna go through my diary, read to you. I haven't read this since I wrote it, so I have no idea what's in here, but I feel like it's gonna be a great way to tell you everything that happened. I'm gonna talk to you about some of the jobs I did, show you some photos, and just reflect on the memories and that whole experience, because that one, my first trip to Asia and my first overseas contract as a model, was a major pivoting moment in my life. It was something that really shaped me and made me get to the place I am today. So I just wanna tell you all about that. The beginning of my modeling career wasn't a straight and easy line. It was definitely zigzagged and curved and twisted. I always used to flip through fashion magazines and read model autobiographies. Like, I was obsessed with Kate Moss, and I read how she was discovered in an airport one day and then they sort of convinced her to become a model, and then she went on to become this supermodel, and I always dreamed of having that kind of story. Like, I would be walking down the street one day
and a man come up to me and he said, "Would you like to be a supermodel?" And I said, "Oui." And the next day I'm in New York on the cover of Vogue.
And unfortunately that never happened for me. Nothing even close ever happened for me. There's two types of people, ones that are born with natural talent and ones that work really hard to get to that same place. I definitely fall in the latter category. I actually convinced my mom to take me to child modeling agencies when I was like 9 or 10, I want to say, but they turned me down. I went back home, I started working out, I started eating healthier, and then around 16 years old, I went back to see other agencies in Toronto. I did a bunch of research to see who the top agencies in Toronto were, and I called them ahead and made appointments, and I think I came and saw about 4 or 5 of them, and they all said no. So I went back and saw some smaller boutique agencies, and one said yes. They were actually really excited about me, and that has made all the difference. All you need is one that says yes. Of course, they need to be reputable, but you need to find someone who believes in you, who has a good plan for you, is really excited about you, and that will mean so much more than joining a big agency where you're just a number and nothing really happens. Also, finding the one that has the right kind of work for your look, especially back then. I feel like nowadays the fashion industry, the lines are kind of blurred. Different faces and body shapes and sizes can do different types of jobs. But back then it was very black and white. You were either high fashion or commercial. Commercial being those girls that did catalogs and TV work. They had a sort of girl next door look about them. They could be a little bit on the shorter side, a little bit slightly more on the curvy side. And then the high fashion girls were very tall and skinny. They were doing the runway and the magazines. I fell in the commercial side. This agency was a very commercial one. Commercial girls were good money makers. They had a lot of stable work. If you get into catalog houses, like back then there was like Sears and Zellers, you could work every week and make really stable, good money. So this agency was definitely the right fit for me, and I worked hard at doing those jobs and building my portfolio over the next 2 years, but I had always hoped to travel. Like I said, I loved Kate Moss. I didn't give up on my dreams of becoming a high fashion model. She was 5'7" and she made it, so I could make it too. Even though I was in a commercial agency, I was gonna get there one day, and I truly felt that traveling would not only broaden myself personally, but would also help me in my career. In Asia, girls that were shorter were really valued because you didn't need to be that tall. Actually, being shorter worked to your advantage because you could fit the sample sizes better. and they liked a girl next door look. I also had heard of girls traveling there and coming back with such good amounts of money. They were able to buy apartments in Toronto and invest and do all of these amazing things. So it just seemed like such a great opportunity that I really wanted to do. My first trip, I hadn't been out of North America before then, but I had traveled alone in Canada. I had this friend that moved from my hometown out to Calgary once, so I went to visit her family and my parents put me on the plane alone in grade 6, so I think I was 10. I went there looking very fashionable, and I feel like that was the start of my fashion-oriented lone travel bug. So after working for 2 years building my portfolio and gaining experience, I asked my agency if I could get some overseas contracts, especially in Asia. And they didn't really have the connections, it wasn't happening. So from there, I was able to get a meeting with a bigger, more well-connected agency in Montreal. I made them my mother agency, and they were able to reach out to a scout in Japan. So sometimes there's these big fashion events or shows or exhibitions where many scouts will come and scout girls from all over the world and send them to different countries. Or sometimes your agency could just send out your stuff and the agency will accept you just by email. Or sometimes scouts visit different cities and will scout girls there. That's how I got to Asia. For me, my agency set up an appointment with a scout from Japan, and she came to Toronto. I met her in her hotel room. She went through my portfolio, did my measurements, and decided my fate. She decided that I would go to Osaka. I was so excited that I was finally getting to go to Japan, and I immediately bought tons of books on telling me where to go, what to see, what to eat, maps, etiquette, things to do or not do in Japan. This was in 2007, so there wasn't any smartphones. We did have the internet, but we definitely didn't have as much information readily available as we did today, so books were kind of my main source. I had no idea what to expect. My agency arranged my visa. They give you a contract that is around 2 months. I think like some countries it's 1 month, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3. I was on a 2-month contract, and they also give you a guarantee amount of money. So before I left for the 2 months, which felt like the longest time in the world back then, I had a going away party with my friends, and they gave me this diary. It says, always remember, never forget. These were my instructions they wrote for me inside. 1, write in me every night of how your day went. 2, try something new every day. Example, food. 3, take lots of pics and add them to this journal. 4, remember your sexy friends at home. Missing you, of course. Love you, Tails. Have the time of your life. So in the beginning, each friend wrote me a note. Oh, my Aunt Rochelle wrote in this. She passed away probably about a year later from lupus, but she was such a strong, independent woman. She was a nurse. She traveled all over the world. She never ended up getting married or having kids, but she was just like such a strong female figure in my life. Nana's sister. Dear Taylor, remember to shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Aunt Diane, Jessica. Giorgio. I didn't know that this. And we're back. Different bed. Let's try this again. Yeah, my family and friends wrote me notes at the beginning of this book. I'm not gonna read them out. And I also skimmed a bit through my diary when I was in Canada to make sure I don't have any more breakdowns. We're good to go, I think. I decided I'm gonna leave out names in this video. A lot of the girls I am not in contact with anymore. Some of them I am on Facebook, but most of them are all very private family people now. They're not really public on social media. Not that you'd be able to connect who they are, I think. I don't know, just in case. I just want to be safe. So I think I'm gonna just label them by their country and age, or a country and a number, because I think it's pretty cool how many different cultures and people from different countries I was involved with. Well, let's start with May 7th, 2007. I titled this The Flight There. Going through customs was difficult, crying because I had to answer so many questions. When the guy asked me why I was crying, it made me cry more. Then he asked me if a long strip search would help. Okay. Yeah, so I remember leaving my family, my whole family, took me to the airport. Everyone was okay. I remember my dad was bawling like crazy. He was the one that didn't really want me to go, but he knew I really wanted to do it. My mom was really supportive and was like, you should travel the world, go out and do it, go, go, go. My dad didn't really want me to do it, but he knew I was very like strong-willed, so he was like, okay, go. But I think he took it the hardest. So when he cries, I always automatically cry. So it was just like a big crying mess between the two of us, and going through customs, yeah, I guess I was still crying. I'm trying to just relax and think about the months ahead. Nothing can stop me from following my dreams now. I arrived in Detroit. I had to stop over in Detroit. We arrived on time and I made my way to the payphone. I had no idea where I was going. I was told by my agency just to land and call a phone number when I arrived and they'll tell me where to go. So I went to the payphone. I remember trying to figure out, I couldn't figure out how to call them for so long. Yeah, they are really confusing to use. Someone had to help me. So I didn't figure it out, someone told me how to do it. And then my agency told me to take bus number 7 to a hotel. I couldn't remember the name or how to pronounce the hotel. When I bought my bus ticket, I just pointed to a word on a page and hoped I was going to the right place. It's so dangerous when I think about it. I'm actually really grateful that Japan was my first stop, especially Osaka, because Osaka is a lot less busy than Tokyo. I feel like it's a little more chill and laid back and more family oriented, and it was such a good place for me to start my overseas modeling journey. I feel like I could have been placed in many dangerous situations on my own, and now when I look back, I'm like, how did I don't know, it seems scary to me now, and I feel like I would never let my kid do that. But yeah, I didn't know where I was going. I took it to wherever I pointed to. It was the right thing. My manager met me at the hotel and brought me to where I'd be staying. It is a very small room. I stayed in what they call a weekly mansion in Japan. It's something that you rent out short term, and mine was a studio, so it was just one small room, and I had a little hot plate that I could cook on. I had a little bathroom, and that was it. People here are really nice. Most don't speak English, but they really try to communicate with you. I unpacked my stuff and took a shower, and then my phone rang with my agent saying I could move into an apartment tomorrow morning. Thank God. I'm so lonely by myself. There are 2 Russian models here who were on the computer all night, so I couldn't speak to my family. So there was a big computer hooked up to the lobby of the hotel that I was staying at, and you had to dial in and use it. I am the worst with confrontation. Like, I'm sure I probably went downstairs and I wanted to use it, but I'm too afraid to talk to people, especially people that don't speak English, and I would just go up to my room and be like, it's fine, and just cry myself to sleep. But I remember, yeah, it was one of the worst nights of my life because I couldn't speak to my family. All I had, your agency would give you a flip phone so that they could communicate with you, but you couldn't call home with that because it would be really expensive. You had to buy some special prepaid SIM card, but I didn't know that because I had just arrived and I had no idea how to work anything. So yeah, if I was hungry, I went to the store and I couldn't figure out what things were in the 7-Eleven. So I'm pretty sure I just bought like water and a yogurt, and that's all I had eaten for dinner, and like a banana or something. I couldn't talk to my family. I felt completely lonely. I was unsure of how I was gonna do. I remember thinking that I just wanted to go home, and it was crazy to me because I had always wanted to be a model and travel the world, and I always wanted to go to Japan, and I was finally here in that moment, and I hated it. I hated it so much. I was so upset. Anyways, I made it through that night. Here is May 9th. Oh yeah, because traveling took 2 days because I had a changeover. My sleep last night was really bad. I woke up every hour until I finally just got up at 6, even though I didn't have to be ready until 10:10 to be exact. The weather outside is warm. My manager picked me up and he laughed because I was wearing shorts and it was only spring. You can take the girl out of Canada, but you can't take the Canada out of the girl. It was so hot though. I don't understand how the Japanese can always wear long clothes and umbrellas in the sun. Yeah, that was new to me. I went to the agency, met my bookers, took Polaroids and measurements, and then I walked back to my new apartment, which is a 15-minute walk from the agency. The apartment is bigger than I expected, and I have my own bedroom. Measurements in Japan are insane. They literally measure every part of your body, from your head to your neck to your fingers, your toes, and it's put on the sheet for clients. My sheet actually says I'm 19. I was 18, but my agency thought my face was too much of a baby face to get a wide variety of jobs, so they upped my age to 19 because that made a difference for some reason. If these measurements were good for them, you had to keep them through your whole trip. So if you fluctuated even 1 to 2 centimeters, they would tell you have a week or two to lose it or you would be sent home. So they were very strict with your measurements. That was really stressful. So I moved into the model apartment. My roommates are 18-year-old blank from the Ukraine and 20-year-old blank from Russia. After I settled in, I went grocery shopping. Things like salad is so expensive, 3 leaves for $4. So I have to eat Japanese food, which is pretty good. That afternoon, I had 3 go-sees. It's really awkward standing there while people talk about you in Japanese, but I'll get used to it. So in Japan, the castings are a little bit different. So in Canada, America, even in Hong Kong, you'll go to castings on your own, you'll meet people, you'll have your designated time slot, and then you'll leave and you kind of forget about it. But in Japan, it's good because it's safer. You go with the manager and all of the other girls, so you're not on your own with your map and trying to fend for yourself. But at the same time, it's quite hard mentally because so you walk in as a group, and a lot of the times we would stand in front of the clients and the clients would pick who they liked, who they didn't like would have to go back to the car. And then from there, they would look through their books. If they liked you, you would try on the clothes. If they liked you in their clothes, you would do poses. If they liked that, then they would take Polaroids of you. So you always kind of knew how they felt. But thinking back, like as an 18-year-old, it was a hard thing to deal with because if you were always sent back to the car, you would wonder like, why am I not good enough? What's wrong with me? You wouldn't think like, now I know now it's not about you, you're just not the right look, or you don't have the right body shape, or I don't know, you're just not right for the job. It's nothing to do with you or your personality. It's nothing personal, but looking back is hard because you're all there on a contract. You all need to make money because or else you're gonna be sent home. And I just think that people think it looks very glamorous and fun, and it is. It's crazy fun, and you get amazing opportunities. You meet amazing people, and I would never not do it. But at the same time, it takes a lot of strength. You're alone a lot. You're dealing with feedback a lot. I think nowadays people can deal with it a little bit better because of social media. They're used to being judged and criticized, and they can read what people think about them. But in modeling, you just heard about it every day, or every day you were either told like, yes, you're good, or no, you're not good, go back to the car. And yeah, it just made you really rely on yourself, be alone with your thoughts a lot, and just really develop thick skin. And I'm thankful for that. I think that's helped me a lot with social media and things that I'm doing now. At castings, they make you get up in front of them, do different poses for catalogs, sports, and bathing suits. It was so weird, I didn't know what to do. My manager saw me struggling, so he gave me a posing video to watch. Okay, so in Osaka specifically, actually in Japan in general, I don't know if they still do this, but in the past they would have these specific poses they wanted you to do. So there was catalog poses, there was underwear poses, sports poses, high fashion poses, and you had this series of poses. I did this Instagram model transformation video a few months ago, and I was doing this posing thing for fun, but it was actually what it was like. So in castings, they would tell you what kind of posing to do, and you'd have to do like 20 poses in 10 seconds to show how good you are at posing, changing your face, changing your body. High fashion was like, you know, more dramatic, and sporty was like more active. I remember in particular Japan has this very like specific hand and foot placement that we had to get exact. It was like this, like the turnout of your foot had to be like exact, and then you had to place your hands like this. Okay, May 10th. Today I had to go to the agency to take new Polaroids because the last ones weren't good enough, I guess. I had 5 castings starting at 2 and I got home at 9 o'clock. So every day you go in this van, you go on castings. If you got a job, you would go to work in the morning and then you join the casting van later. So it's long days. You would get up in the morning, get ready, and then either work or go to castings. And a lot of the times you get home at 9, eat dinner, go to bed, and then wake up and do it again the next day. Ooh, I met 2 girls that have been here for a month. Blank is from Poland and Blank is Russian. The girl from Poland became my absolute best friend. She was like 4 or 5 years older than me, and she just took me under her wing. She taught me everything about Japan. She took me running with her around the castles. She took me to Kyoto, Kobe, Nagoya. We would take little trips around. We would also work there sometimes because Osaka is really close. But yeah, I spent almost all of my free time with her. Whenever I could, I would join whatever she was doing. So after moving to the model apartment, living with 2 girls and meeting this girl from Poland, I was really settled in. I felt okay. I really started to enjoy myself. Okay, May 11th, there are 6 castings today starting at 1. I didn't have a good day because I only tried on 1 outfit. When I was walking this morning around my apartment, a group of boys came up to me and one kissed me on the cheek. It was really awkward. I just kept on walking. I remember this so vividly. So there was this shopping arcade near the model apartment. It's one of those covered ones. And I was walking and this group of teenage boys came up to me, and I remember they were really fascinated with my blonde hair because at that time in 2007 there weren't really that many foreign people there. There was probably more in Tokyo, but not really many in Osaka. I actually really rarely saw them, and when I did, they were models. So they wanted to touch my hair, and then one leaned in and kissed me on the cheek suddenly. I really like to walk here. It's nice to see things and get some exercise from being in the car all day. Yesterday I had 4 castings and I got my first job. Most of the jobs in Osaka were either lingerie, bridal, or clothing catalogs. I also did a TV commercial. Ooh, there was one too. They dressed me up like a queen. I got a new roommate from Scotland and I was so excited to have someone to live with me that could speak English. She's really nice, but she keeps saying she's big when she's really skinny. I think this was because before this trip, I lived in Canada by myself and I had lost weight, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video. I lost weight for many reasons. My own health, I wanted to. I was also bullied in school before, and also because I wanted to model. But I would say my relationship with food was really good up until this point. And then being around models and seeing how thin they were, and then them still complaining, saying they weren't thin enough or they were fat, and seeing how little they would eat and how much they would exercise really made me question myself. Then going to these castings, and of course sometimes you get chosen, sometimes you don't, but you always remember when you don't, or when you don't have a good day, and then you thinking you're not good enough, and then comparing yourself to these other girls who are doing these more extreme things. I think this is when I really started to develop not the healthiest relationship with food, and I could go into it in another video because there's so much to dive into there, but this is when I started really exercising a lot, like running a lot, and starting to count my calories because I was living with girls that did that. I'm living so differently than I do at home. I really take for granted everything my mom does for me. I woke up today, made my bed, vacuumed my room, and did some laundry. Me, who can't even hang my shirt at the end of the day. I would always throw my clothes on the floor and my mom would get mad at me, or I would never make my bed. I also have to budget myself because I can't spend all of my money on shopping. There's things I need each week like food, water, toilet paper, laundry detergent, all those little things that I didn't have to worry about before. I'm really getting a taste of what having a house on my own is like, which is kind of good. This trip is not only a lot of fun, but is opening my eyes and maturing me. So the money I'm talking about here is when you have an overseas contract, especially in Asia. I don't think they do this that much in Europe, but in Asia they will give you a set amount of cash at the beginning of each week, and that needs to last you the whole week for your food, your transportation, medication, anything that you may need. So you really need to be careful and watch how you spend that money, or else you won't have enough to eat. And then they add that all up, and at the end of your contract you pay the money back with what you earned. May 19th. Today I feel so alone. I woke up to no one in the house. My Polish friend wanted to stay home and relax today. Today I went by myself to Osaka Castle. I walked a lot and took a lot of pictures. After I walked home and picked up a few things from the 99 yen shop, and then I made myself a huge pot of soup with all kinds of vegetables. I really needed that. Then I walked around the shopping arcade. I've had no one to talk to all day. My housemates still aren't home. I miss my friends and family, and my boyfriend at the time so much right now. Tomorrow will be better because me and my Polish friend are going to the aquarium. I feel so lonely, and I read everyone's notes at the beginning of this book over and over, and I still cry. They give me some strength to keep going in times like these because of everyone's kind words and support. Okay, in this next entry on May 27th, I had a little fight, not really a fight. Basically, my roommates at the time weren't being very respectful. They came home at 2 a.m. and were really loud, and they brought some guys home, and I was trying to sleep, And that happens a lot in model apartments. Model apartments are really fun because you room with girls all over the world and you have people to be with, you can share food and recipes, and it's a lot of fun, but at the same time, sometimes people don't really respect you and they can come home from partying really late. They steal your food. A lot of times your food gets stolen from the fridge. People don't clean up after themselves, like don't wash the dishes when they're done, and then you gotta wash them if you wanna use them and cook. Overall, I'd say I had very positive experiences living in model apartments, but every now and then something negative happens, either with people. Oh, in Osaka one time too, my underwear got stolen. So we were staying on the 3rd level of the apartment building and we had a washer but not a dryer, so we would all hang our laundry outside on the balcony. And yeah, one day when I came home, all of our underwear was stolen. Like not anything else from the laundry, just our underwear. So someone had to climb up 3 balconies to steal it. I'm loving the bento boxes at work. I went to karaoke with my agency. I tried sushi. Tomorrow I have a job for maternity wear. It is so weird because I look like I'm 14 and I'm supposed to be pregnant. A lot of the times they would hire very young looking girls and strap on a pregnant belly on them and do maternity wear, or here I was doing maternity wear underwear. So that was really different. Oh, I had this interesting casting. So one thing I did from the beginning of modeling, especially when I went to Asia, was I would try to never say no. So no matter what my agency would ask me to do, I would just say yes and I would try, because I went all the way there. I wanted to make my trip worth it. I wanted to give it my best shot and just give it a good try. So they asked me if I could do yoga, and I had done like a little bit of yoga before. I wasn't that advanced, but I just said yes. So I turned up to the casting and everyone there was really good at it. It looked like they were all yoga teachers. They were on the ground practicing, doing all these very advanced moves. So I asked one of the girls there if she could teach me something that looked really cool, and she taught me one of those ones where you go on the ground like this and then you push up against you like lift yourself up off the floor. And so then I learned it quickly. I went to the casting and then they asked me if I could do yoga and I was like, yeah, I can do this move. And I fell flat on my face and I never got the job, of course. It didn't really work out that time, but there was a few times when it did. For example, they asked me if I could speak French, and being from Canada, you learn a tiny bit. So I said yes, although I wasn't fluent. I couldn't put together a sentence, but I figured I would just try and read the script. So I did. I went, I read the script, and I actually got the job. And it was like a TV commercial, so people would be hearing me speak French, so I was kind of like, oh no. But luckily on the job, they actually had French translators to help work with me on my accent, so it all worked out. Everyone was really happy. One of the best things I've taken away from modeling and applied to everywhere in my life is to just try. You don't know what could happen. And that's it. That's all I wrote. I didn't write in it every single day like the rules told me to, but I wrote in it quite a bit. I was only there for 2 months. I gained so much experience, I matured, I became more independent, I made a lot of friends, I got a recipe from my roommate, I gained so many recipes, and I learned a lot about myself from spending a lot of time alone. I fell deeply in love with Japan. It was everything I thought it would be and more, and I continue to go back there for so many other contracts after that. It was a really good experience. It was a really good trip. I earned some money. So going back to the beginning of the video, what I want you to take away from all of this is if there's something you really want to do, then just go for it. If one door closes, try and find another one. And if that door closes, find a window, push it open and force yourself inside that room. Once you get in there, work really hard and make people realize that you belonged in there all along, because you belong in every room. What people think of you is not the be-all, end-all. There's many different ways and many different paths to get somewhere where you want to go, and it might not be just a straight path. It may be a very curvy up and down one, but you can do it if you work hard enough, if you believe in yourself. Even now, for example, if you want to get into fashion, there's many different ways you could get into it. It could be styling, it could be photography. There's so many different body shapes and sizes now that are celebrated. There's many different tools you could use, like social media. Now is just the perfect time to be seen and do what you want to do. So if there's something you're thinking of doing and the first meeting you went to in order to do it didn't go as planned, or someone told you no, keep trying. Hey, You may just end up in Japan and then somehow end up in Hong Kong and be married, and that one trip changed your whole life.
Like a little baby that can't see because she needs a haircut.
We both need our bangs cut or something. We need to do something with our hair. Yeah, not accepting no and keeping on trying and believing in yourself can make all of the difference. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to hear some stories about some other places I went to, let me know below in the comments. I will see you guys in my next one.